Hey English learners, welcome back to the show. This is me, Teacher Sam and Emily. Today's episode is going to be super helpful for all of you learning English.
Hey, Teacher Sam, I'm excited about today's episode. Shadowing is one of my favorite techniques for improving English quickly.
Totally. Shadowing can seem a bit intimidating at first, but with the right exercises, it's a great way to improve pronunciation, rhythm, and even listening skills. Okay, let's start with the basics, short sentences. This exercise is great for absolute beginners. What you do is listen to a native speaker say a simple sentence, then immediately repeat it after them, trying your best to match their pronunciation and intonation.
Exactly. Keep the sentences short and sweet, like the sky is blue or she loves apples. The goal is to focus on how the speaker pronounces the words, not just the meaning.
And don't worry about speaking fast at first. It's okay to start slow, then gradually pick up the pace as you get more comfortable.
Totally. I always recommend using apps or YouTube channels that focus on beginner English. They have lots of short, clear sentences for shadowing.
Right. And one more tip. Try to pay attention to the rhythm and intonation of the sentence. English is a very rhythmic language, and getting the rhythm right is just as important as pronouncing the words correctly.
Absolutely. Think of it like music. English sentences have their own melody. By shadowing short sentences, you'll start to internalize this melody and your speech will sound more natural.
Exactly. And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you shadow, the better you'll become at mimicking native speakers, and the more confident you'll feel speaking English.
So don't be afraid to start small and gradually challenge yourself with longer and more complex sentences as you progress. You've got this.
Moving on to exercise number 2, shadowing audiobooks. Audiobooks are fantastic because they usually have clear pronunciation, and you can slow them down if you need to.
Exactly. For beginners, it's best to choose books you already know, or simple stories like children's books. Since you already understand the plot, you can focus entirely on your pronunciation and accent without getting bogged down by new vocabulary.
Yes, and don't be afraid to replay the same sections over and over. The more you repeat, the more natural the words will feel in your mouth.
I love using platforms like Audible or YouTube for this because you can find audiobooks for all levels. Just remember, practice makes perfect. Even just 15 minutes a day can make a big difference.
And here's a pro tip. Try to find audiobooks with transcripts. That way you can read along as you listen and shadow, which can help you connect the written and spoken word even better.
That's a great point. And don't be afraid to experiment with different genres and narrators. You might find that you prefer listening to fiction or nonfiction, or that you learn better from a male or female narrator.
Absolutely. The most important thing is to find audiobooks that you enjoy listening to. That way, shadowing will feel less like a chore and more like a fun way to improve your English.
And who knows, you might even discover some new favorite books along the way. All right, exercise 3 is one of my favorites. Shadowing dialogues from TV shows or movies. This is great for beginners because you're hearing real conversational English, with all its natural pauses, intonation, and slang.
Totally agree. It's fun, engaging, and you're learning phrases you'll actually use in real life.
Right. Shows like Friends or The Office have lots of everyday dialogue you can practice. The key here is to mimic not just what they say, but how they say it, their tone, rhythm, and intonation.
And it's okay to use subtitles at first. Eventually, you'll be able to follow along without them, but they help a lot when you're just starting.
Another tip is to choose a show or movie that you genuinely enjoy. That way, you'll be more motivated to practice, and you'll naturally pick up on the language.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to pause and rewind if you need to hear a phrase again. The goal is to learn and improve, not to be perfect from the start.
And as you get more comfortable, you can even try shadowing scenes with more than 2 characters or scenes with faster dialogue.
That's a great way to challenge yourself. And remember, the more you practice, the more natural and fluent your English will sound.
Exercise 4 is a little different, shadowing your own voice. Record yourself reading a short paragraph in English, then listen back and repeat after yourself, paying close attention to your pronunciation and intonation.
This is an awesome way to improve because you get immediate feedback. You'll hear what sounds off, and you can practice fixing it. It's like having your own personal language coach.
Exactly. You'll become more aware of how you're pronouncing words, and it's a great way to build self-confidence. Plus, you can track your progress over time by listening back to your recordings and hearing how much you've improved.
Yes. Start small, maybe just a few sentences, and gradually work your way up to longer paragraphs. You can even record yourself reading the same paragraph every week to track your progress.
And don't be afraid to be your own harshest critic. Listen carefully for any areas where your pronunciation or intonation could be improved, and focus on those areas in your practice.
That's right, and remember, there's no shame in using a dictionary or online pronunciation guide if you're not sure how to pronounce a word correctly.
Absolutely. The goal is to learn and improve, and using the resources available to you is a sign of a dedicated learner.
And finally, exercise 5 shadowing news clips. This might sound intimidating, but it's a fantastic way to improve your accent and listening skills, especially if you're aiming for a more formal or academic style of speaking.
Yes. News reporters speak clearly and professionally, which makes them ideal for shadowing. You can find short news segments on YouTube or even use apps like BBC Learning English, which often have transcripts and exercises to accompany their news reports.
Exactly. Start by listening to a short news story. Pause after each sentence and repeat what you hear, trying to match the reporter's pace and intonation. This exercise will help you with formal English and improve your overall fluency.
And don't forget to focus on the stress and intonation. News reporters are trained to speak with clarity, so it's a perfect model to follow. Pay attention to how they emphasize certain words and phrases to convey meaning and keep the listener engaged.
Right. And don't be discouraged if you don't understand every single word at first. News reports often use specialized vocabulary, so it's okay to look up words you don't know and gradually build your vocabulary over time.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable, you can even try shadowing live news broadcasts. This is a great way to challenge yourself and see how well you can keep up with fast-paced speech.
That's a great goal to work towards. And remember, the more you expose yourself to different accents and speaking styles, the better your listening comprehension will become. Alright, let's recap what we've covered today. We talked about 5 simple shadowing exercises that are perfect for beginners. First, we have shadowing short sentences, great for focusing on pronunciation.
Then we moved on to shadowing audiobooks, which help you with both listening and speaking skills. Next up, shadowing TV show dialogues. It's fun and teaches you conversational English.
Right, and don't forget shadowing your own voice. Recording and listening to yourself is one of the best ways to improve. Finally, shadowing news clips is perfect for learning formal English and improving fluency.
Exactly. And before we go, let's highlight some of the key words we used today: intonation, pronunciation, repetition, dialogue, confidence, and fluency. These are words you'll often hear in language learning, and they're crucial for mastering shadowing techniques.
That's right. You can use these key terms in different contexts to boost your understanding. For example, intonation refers to the rise and fall in your voice when speaking, while a repetition is the secret to mastering any new skill, especially language.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Shadowing is one of the best ways to improve your English speaking skills, and we hope today's exercises give you a great starting point.
Definitely. Remember, it takes time and practice, but the more you do it, the faster you'll see results. So start small and build up gradually.
If you found this episode helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share it with friends who are also learning English.
And leave a comment below to let us know which exercise you'll try first. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, keep practicing and don't give up. You've got this.
See you in the next episode of English Made Easy.